Hello folks, it's Typhon Carter here, and today I bring to you a Smogon Premier League Generation 4 overuse match between Crucify and BKC. This is the first SPL DPP match of 2025. Both these players fairly accomplished in their own rights. First up we have Crucify. Crucify, normally a Generation 5 overuse mainstay in SPL, however, Crucify locked himself out of BW this season, so instead he finds himself in DPP playing for the Sharks. As for BKC, well, BKC, no need for introductions, everybody knows who he is. He is probably one of the most accomplished OGens players ever, but Crucify is no slouch in DPP either, as Crucify actually made Smogon Classic Finals a couple years ago where he came out short against ABR. He would later get his revenge against ABR this past Smogon Classic playoffs where he eliminated ABR, including a DPP game where he actually killed ABR's lead Zapdos with a Choice Specs Blizzard Starmie turn 1, because Zapdos normally lives Specs Ice Beam from lead Starmie, but that's not really the main point. So Crucify has done pretty well for himself in DPP this the last year in 2024, did pretty well in DPP Cup. And BKC, he actually hasn't played DPP in a while, but you know, he did play in Jirachi's DPP Invitational back around 2023, where he actually made it all the way to grand finals before just barely coming up short against Piteous, but he still walked away with a ton of cash, so you know, that's still pretty good, all things considered. And BKC actually locked out every single tier except for DPP in his signup, so he can only play DPP for the entirety of this SPL campaign. Fun fact, he has actually never played a full season of DPP in SPL. He has played full campaigns of ADV and GSC, for example, but DPP he has never done that, despite the fact that he loves DPP a ton. Anyways, let's just get right into this. Turn 1 here, Zapdos versus Infernape. Pretty unusual lead from BKC. Whereas for Crucify, Zapdos is a pretty prototypical lead. Usually Zapdos is Fizz Def, whereas Infernape, when it has been used as a lead in the past, it usually is like Fake Out Stealth Rocks, that kind of stuff. But while Infernape has seen a resurgence in DPP the last year and a half and then some, it usually is not seen in the lead slot, so this is already a pretty interesting turn 1 to see, and an interesting lead matchup for that matter. And BKC gets the Will-O-Wisp off, which is actually not actually pretty rare on Infernape, not something you normally would expect. But as for Crucify, just gets a discharge off. This tells me this is maybe like a sub zap or maybe like a very offensive zap. Gets some chip damage, but the Zapdos already losing a bunch of health from Will-O-Wisp here. And again, like 3 turns in, we see a Breloom show up, and we also see a Tyranitar on BKC's side. And wow, Latias, this is already shaping itself out to be a very weird game, but Crucify probably not too sure what BKC has up his sleeve. As for Crucify's team, based on the 2 Pokemon shown, Zapdos, Breloom, this probably tells me that there is likely a Starmie and a Heatran in the back. Starmie, a very common partner for Zapdos, mostly because of Stealth Rocks being an issue for Zapdos normally, so Starmie makes a lot of sense. Whereas Breloom covers Heatran, or rather Heatran covers for Breloom pretty well. So we have that going. They cover each other very well. Zapme Loomtran, a very tried and true team composition in DPP, a Piteous style team, maybe. And there's probably maybe even a Jirachi in the back And the last could be like Tyranitar, or like it could be a lot of things, to be honest, or even like a Scarf Flagon. But we'll find out soon enough. We see a Lumberry from BKC's Latias, and brings into Jirachi. BKC gets the T-Wave off. Actually, pretty good mid-ground play there, because of the fact that the Breloom doesn't really want to stay in on the Latias. Crucify has no idea what the Latias could be doing, and based on BKC's composition so far, it's probably a safe assumption to make that it was an offensive Latias. So going to Jirachi seemed like a pretty safe click, but you don't really want the Jirachi to be parried. It's gonna be a little bit annoying, but Crucify gets the body slam off anyways. And Rain Dance, like, wow. Rain Dance Latias is, I have never seen this, I'm going to be honest, on Latias specifically. Latias has a lot of versatile sets, that much is true, but Rain Dance, definitely not one of the things I envisioned myself seeing. But alas, here we are. And Quagsire on Crucify's team is an interesting choice, but to be honest, if the last is like, say, like a Starmie without T-Bolt, and then like Heatran in the back, like assuming that's what the last two are, in fact, Quagsire here kind of makes sense. It's a bit of an unusual choice. This probably tells me that the team, the 5 is not very stable into offensive Suicune, which Quagsire would kind of make sense here. I assume it's like Spadef Invest if that's the case, but can't be too sure. BKC brings out the Breloom, gets a free Focus Punch off, and now here you got a bit of an interesting, or rather very awkward situation for Crucify here, because of the fact that, so your Zapdos is on 18% health. It probably has Roost, which makes a lot of sense, but the Focus Punch did a lot. Now for Crucify, if he decides to Roost and BKC calls this, then there is a very real shot that the Zapdos just goes down, and you let the Breloom heal itself up even more. On BKC's side, he has to be wary of a possible HP Ice from Zapdos. So like you got this weird dynamic here. For BKC, he could easily go into T-Tar in this situation. It would be pretty free. For Crucify, it's like, okay, do I try to heal up, hope BKC switches out into T-Tar, or do I just let the Zap die, try to get some extra mileage out of it, and maybe call it the Focus Punch? So that's what we got going on here. And lo and behold, BKC switches out. Crucify basically gets next to basically no real mileage left on this Zapdos, and just goes into Latias, tries to minimize the amount of damage. I assume he wants to keep the T-Tar healthy. Latias has to switch out, and Crucify just Ice Punches. But this does mean that, okay, so a couple moves shown so far on the Infernape. It is Will-O-Wisp and U-Turn, but he is able to get the Kingdra in safely, which now looking back on it, the Latias having Rain Dance actually makes a lot of sense. Because not only are you clearing Tyranitar's own sand, because T-Tar's sand can sometimes be a detriment to its own teammates, but Latias being able to use Rain Dance also lets the Kingdra go wild potentially. And Crucify realizes that, oh shoot, my team probably doesn't have too many great options against the Kingdra, just decides to get some chip damage. So the Kingdra looking like a real big threat for Crucify's team, because Crucify now is kind of in this weird spot where if the Kingdra comes in, now he has to guess if it's going to click Water Move or click like Draco Meteor. And if he gets it wrong, then he's in for a real bad time. But to be honest, Crucify's already behind, mostly because BKC's kept up the pressure this entire time. And BKC just gets the Stealth Rock here. He realizes, hey look, if the Heatran stays in and just Earth powers me, then great, I have free entry for my Kingdra. I have a bunch of other stuff on the team that can threaten Crucify's side. Crucify also got his Stealth Rocks up at the very least, but Crucify really behind though. And Infernape, okay, hold on. Yeah, so that just showed Will-O-Wisp, Stealth Rock, U-Turn, and Taunt. So BKC loaded a Infernape with no stab moves. Wow. Just trying to let that sink in real quick. But that said, BKC got a ton of mileage out of the Infernape. The Infernape getting the Will-O-Wisp off on a Zapdos turn 1 meant that the Zapdos was put on a timer very quickly, or because even if it could roost, it means that the Will-O-Wisp damage and the sand damage will add up very quickly. And then also taunted the Jirachi to prevent any wish nonsense from Jirachi, because like on this kind of team, like the Loomtran team, this Jirachi being bulky, for like you can't have this really nice defensive backbone between Zapdos, Jirachi, and Quagsire on paper. But yeah, so again, the taunt off, that was huge, and then like the Infernape got the U-turn off to bring a Kingdra in. And now BKC has the Metagross is in business. And yeah, that Earthquake was pretty free, but Crucify kind of in big trouble here. He's way too behind right now, and he has to try and make some plays. Unfortunately, that was a dud, and that was not what he really needed. And yeah, BKC is just in the driver's seat the entire time. Like, he doesn't have to predict anything here. Like, you can just click what's in front of him. Do anything too creative or too crazy for that matter. Ooh, okay, that pair was unfortunate. But yeah, so BKC is just trying to get the surfs in. I assume Crucify is just trying to get the wow, didn't expect that. I was thinking he would maybe try to get the wish off if there was ever a time for Crucify to try to get the wish off on what looks to be a bulky Jirachi. This was probably the time to do it, and to be honest, I'm not sure why he didn't just go for it, but alas, it seems it was not meant to be. That Jirachi goes down, and then the Starmie's brought out. Wow, okay, that's a lot of damage on the Surf. I'm so used to like Surfs on Starmie just kind of bouncing off the T-Tar, but yeah, so there was the Zap Me Loomtran core that I was alluding to the team possibly being earlier. And for Crucify here, it's like you're super behind. You kind of have to like make a play, and wow, that Quagsire survived. So this was likely a Draco Meteor Specs boosted from the Kingdra on BKC's side. And this is probably like Spadef Quagsire, like the default spread on Showdown, with like 220 Spadef and like 56 defense EVs. It was something like that, so that's surviving it. And then right now, Crucify's only way to really get out of this in his spot is to hope to God that the Kingdra actually misses. But the thing, however, the issue now at this stage is I would say the game is almost all but over, because of the fact that, one, even if you get past this Kingdra, the Breloom just comes in for free. It can click Seed Bomb and it will just claim one, no matter what you do. And then Crucify's only real way out is to like maybe try to get some hacks with the Starmie. So that's the only way I see Crucify getting out of this. But he does even get the Draco Meteor miss to go in his favor. And then now BKC just sacks the Breloom, mostly doing it just to give his Metagross free entry. There's a small chance for this to go very wrong with, like, say, an Ice Beam freeze, but that does not happen. The Starmie goes down, and BKC wins this match pretty convincingly. Very cool game to watch. BKC brought out a bunch of crazy tech, to be honest. Some of it is actually pretty fire, like the Rain Dance Latias. The Infernape not having a single stab move and just using, he was able to use the possibility of having those moves in his favor, especially for somebody like Crucify, who isn't necessarily a seasoned DPP vet. But to be honest, I think a lot of DPP veterans would definitely have gotten thrown off by that Infernape for sure. And yeah, being able to use the Rain Dance to, I assume, like, clear up T-Tar's sand, and then also using it to facilitate the Specs Kingdra. Really good idea. I actually like this, that said. And the thing was that Crucify's team was, like, it wasn't bad by any means. I thought it was okay. But BKC was just able to keep up the pressure the entire time. And yeah, so there's that. I will also be commentating the other matches. I'm not sure if I can do any of the other games in real time, like on Smog Tours, but I'll have to see. And with that being said, if you guys like this, then like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you guys want to see more of this. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time.